This audiobook summary was brought to you by Book Mindset. We hope you enjoy. It is an audiobook summary. If you want more audiobook summaries like this, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to turn on the bell icon. The Psychology of Money Summary. 1. No one's crazy. Summary: everyone looks at money through the lens of their experiences that are past. You can read what it was like to lose everything during, say, the Great Recession, but you shall never bear the emotional scars of those who survived it and are now afraid to invest again. It's important to remember, then, that you will never understand why people behave the way they do until you've lived through a financial crisis and felt its consequences. 2. Luck and risk. Big idea: nothing is as good or as bad as it seems. Every outcome in life is guided by forces other than individual effort. Bill Gates had an advantage that is competitive millions of other students because he attended one of the only high schools in the world that had the cash and foresight to buy a computer. In finance, luck is as much a potent force as risk. 3. Never enough. Big idea: rich people do crazy things. Rajat Gupta's. Bernie Madoff. These are men that had everything: wealth that is power, freedom, only to lost everything because they had no sense of enough. The lesson? There is no need to risk what and need is had by you for what you don't have and don't need. The hardest skill that is financial, it seems, is to stop the goalposts from moving. 4. Confounding Compounding. Big idea: our minds are not built to handle the reality that compounding leads to results that are logic-defying. Warren Buffett's fortune isn't due to just being an investor that is good. Rather, it's due to being an investor that is good. He was a child. As of writing, Warren Buffett's worth, that is net $84.5 billion. Of that, $84.2 billion was accumulated after his 50th birthday. The nature that is counterintuitive of leads even the smartest of us to overlook its enormous power. 5. Getting wealthy versus staying wealthy. Big idea: good investing is not about making good decisions. It's about consistently not screwing up. Housel writes that it would be survival if he had to summarize money success in a single word: not growth or brains, insight but survival. The ability to stick around for a long time, without wiping out or being forced to give up, makes the difference that is biggest when it comes to making money. Compounding only works if an asset can be given by you years to grow. 6. Tails: you win. Big idea: you can be half that is wrong time and still make a fortune. Anything that is huge, profitable, famous, or influential is the result of a tail event, and one in thousands that are outlying millions event. And most of our attention goes to things that are huge, profitable, famous, or influential. When most of what we pay attention to is the total result of a tail, it's easy to underestimate how rare and powerful they are. 7. Freedom. Big idea: controlling your time is the dividend money that is highest pace. The highest form of wealth is the ability to wake every morning up and say, I can do whatever I want, when I want, with who I want, for as long as I want. This, more than your salary, more than the size of your hours, more than the prestige of your job, more than anything, is the dividend money that is highest pace. 8. Man in the motor car paradox. Big idea: no one is impressed with your possessions as much as you are. People tend to want wealth to signal to others that they want to be admired and liked. But in reality, those other people often bypass admiring you, not because they use your wealth as a benchmark for their own desire to be liked and admired, because they don't think wealth is admirable, but 9. Wealth is what you don't see. Big idea: spending money to show people how much money you have is the way that is fastest to have less money. We tend to judge wealth by what we see, because that's the given information we have in front of us. But the truth is that wealth is what you don't see. Rich is an income that is current. Nice cars purchased. Diamonds bought. But wealth is hidden. It is an option not yet taken to buy something later. Not knowing the difference is a source of countless money that is poor. 10. Save money. Big idea: the factor that is only can control generates one of the only things that matters. Building wealth has little to do with your investment or income, returns, and more to do with your savings rate. More importantly, the value of wealth is relative to what you need. A high savings rate means having lower expenses than they would if you spent more than you otherwise could, and having lower expenses means your savings go farther. 11. Reasonable, rational. Big idea: aiming to be works that are mostly reasonable than trying to be coldly rational. Do not aim to be coldly rational when making decisions that are financial rights. Housel. Aim to just be pretty reasonable. Reasonable is more realistic, and you have a better chance of sticking with it for the long run, which is what matters most when managing money. You're not a spreadsheet, remember. You're a person. 12. Surprise. Big idea history isn't guide, that is unassailable the future. A trap investors that are many into is what Youll calls historians as prophets fallacy and over-reliance on past data, as a signal to future conditions in a field where innovation and change are the lifeblood of progress. Past performance is not indicative of future results. The global world changes. 13. Room for error. Big idea. The most part that is important of plan is planning on your plan not going according to plan. Use room for error when estimating your returns that are future. For his own investments, Youll assumes the future returns he earn in his lifetime will be lower than the average that is historic. So, he saves more if I assume the future will resemble the past than he would. It's his margin of safety. 14. You'll change. Big idea. Long-term planning is harder than it seems because people's goals and desires change over time. We're such poor forecasters of ourselves that our futures, there's a term for this phenomenon, the end of history illusion. We're aware of how we've that as much in the past, but we grossly underestimate how much our personalities, desires, and goal will change in the future. Youll writes, imagining a goal is easy and fun. Imagining a goal in the context of the life that is realistic that grow with competitive pursuits is something entirely different. When you're making decisions that are long-term, then, remember to avoid the extreme ends of financial planning and accept the reality of changing your mind. 15. Nothing's free. Big idea. Everything has a price, but not all prices appear on labels. The price of investing success is not immediately obvious. It's not a price tag you can see, so when the bill comes due, it doesn't feel like a fee for getting something good. It feels like a fee for doing something wrong. Youll writes, thinking of market volatility as a fee rather than a fine is in part that is important of the kind of mindset that lets you stick around long enough for investing gains to work in your favor. 16. You and me. Big idea. Avoid taking financial cues from people playing at a game that is different. You are. Few things matter more with money than understanding your time, that is own horizon, not being persuaded by the actions and behaviors of people playing different games that you are. Go out of your way to identify what game playing that is your, ignore the rest. 17. The seduction of pessimism. Big idea. Optimism sounds like a sales pitch. Pessimism sounds like someone trying to help you. In finance, pessimism is paid more attention than optimism, and is, therefore, more persuasive. It's easier to create a narrative around pessimism because the story pieces tend to be fresher and more recent, writes Youll. Optimistic narratives require looking at a stretch that is long of in developments, which people tend to forget and take more effort to piece together. True optimism, that is financial, Youll posits, is to expect things to be bad, and be surprised when they're not. 18. When you'll believe anything. Big idea. Stories trump statistics. The more you want something to be true, the more likely you are going to believe a whole story that overestimates the odds of it being true. After World War I ended, for instance, few thought there would ever be another global world war. Youll writes, there are many things in life, because we desperately want them to be true, that we think are true. He calls these things appealing fictions, and they have an impact that is big how we think about money, particularly investments and the economy. Finally, we complete. You guys are amazing. Keep reading, keep smiling, and enjoying your life.